You're watching extras from the extension on Eagle Community Television. This show is brought to you by Carico Implement.
We're getting into the time of year where people are out in their yards, they're working on a lot of things, starting to notice a lot of things that are wrong, and so I'm getting a lot of phone calls. And unfortunately this year, with the weather being the way it's been over the last several years, we are seeing an exceptional amount of winter injury, and some of that stress, that drought stress over the last several years, is really starting to show up on some of our trees and our shrubs around the area. Standing in a row of juniper bushes here, and this is just one example of some of the things that I've been seeing, but junipers are a very tough, drought-tolerant plant that are planted widely throughout the area. Eastern red cedars, many of our windbreak trees, those are also junipers. Juniperus virginiana is their scientific name, and so they are having some of these same symptoms. So I wanted to talk about this a little bit today. If you're seeing some areas of your junipers or your cedar trees die out, look really closely at the branches. If you get to the, on a dead branch, you go to investigate, you might see several little tiny holes in the branch. Or if you take a pocket knife, which I don't have with me today, and kind of scrape back the bark on that branch, you might find the actual galleries where some little borers have been tunneling. And that's an indication that this has been affected by borers. Now on cedar trees and on junipers, we've been seeing a lot of damage from a little insect called a bark beetle. Bark beetles are an insect that come in as a secondary pest on plants that are already stressed. And like I mentioned, we've had a lot of environmental stress, a lot of drought stress over the last several years, and unfortunately that's starting to really show up now. If you see branches like this where you have areas that have died out, unfortunately there's nothing that can be done for that. You can simply remove those branches, or in the case of a cedar windbreak, you have to either remove the entire tree or that dead windbreak tree is still serving its purpose as a windbreak, so you could leave the dead tree standing if your main goal is to have some source of wind protection there. But just know that if you're seeing some dead areas in the trees, investigate a little bit closer. It could certainly be from this borer damage. Now we've also been seeing a lot of winter injury this year, like I mentioned, on other types of shrubs, deciduous shrubs like privets and rose bushes, and broadleaf evergreens like English ivy ground covers, things like that just died over the winter, or maybe had lots of branches die over the winter, or simply just aren't coming out of winter as well as they should have. A lot of that can be attributed to our dry conditions over the winter, but also, if you'll recall, back in November, we were fairly mild, and then all of a sudden we got down into the 20s for like a week. And a lot of that damage occurred then. The plants were not quite acclimated or gone dormant quite at that time, and so a lot of those plants still had leaves on trees. We still had lots of things growing, and then we just got that real severe cold snap and it did some damage there. So we're seeing lots of environmental stress this year. Unfortunately, that's common for us here in Kansas. The majority of our problems are not disease or insect related. It's due to the environment and our fluctuations because of that. So if you see anything strange and you have questions, don't hesitate to contact your local extension office for more information, but just realize that it's likely not a disease, it's likely not necessarily an insect to begin with, but usually the environment that causes a lot of our plant problems in this area.
You're watching extras from the extension on Eagle Community Television. This show is brought to you by Carico Implement.
Spring is here, and that means it's time to come out and visit Carico Implement in Hays, Kansas for all your lawn care needs. We stock and sell the full line of John Deere riding lawn equipment, along with Honda walk-behind mowers and generators. We also offer the full lineup of steel power products. If your project requires even more muscle, check out our full lineup of John Deere compact tractors and skid loaders. And don't forget, we have the parts and services to keep you up and running all spring long. So whatever your spring lawn care and maintenance needs are, come on out to Carico Implement for a solution that fits.